Have you ever wanted to go on a heartfelt journey in the lives of your loved ones and newfound acquaintances? Do you enjoy listening and engaging in uplifting discussions that leave you motivated and inspired to take action in your own life? This podcast is a space where we have in-depth conversations on family, health, spirituality, entrepreneurship, and well, just plain old life. I'm Jesse De Leon, and this is my passion. Join me on a walk into the fascinating narratives and meaningful conversations that shape our experiences. Welcome to The Knowing, a Life and Stories podcast. Hello, everyone. I'm Jesse De Leon, and welcome back to The Knowing, a Life and Stories podcast. Meal prep or meal preparation is what I want to talk about today. What is meal prep? Well, I think most of us are familiar with meal prep and what that means. But for me, it means, starting the week off on a Sunday and preparing for me, it's a big pot of either ground turkey, ground beef, or mixed with ground beef and turkey. And sometimes I add shrimp to it. Sometimes I add like onions, bell peppers, zucchini, squash, broccoli, French green beans, green onions, really whatever it is that you enjoy eating. You can put it all in there. And I use a good bone broth. And because it has a lot of nutrients in the bone broth, and that's really healthy for our bodies, and it's also very flavorful. I add tomatoes, and I kind of cook the tomatoes down, and I just have fun doing it because it's meditative for me. Meal prepping and eating healthy, it doesn't have to be boring, time consuming, nor restrictive, and it can be very simple. Some people just grill some chicken breast or bake chicken breast, and with vegetables, rice. Really is whatever it is that you enjoy. It can be fish as well, and mixing it up with salmon, tuna, steak, whatever it is that you enjoy in terms of your protein. And I used to find it a bit, it did feel cumbersome when I first started doing it, because you have to prepare all the vegetables, and depending on how many vegetables you want to put in it, depends on how much more time it will take. But again, it can be fun and interesting, and you can get creative. And I find that for me, a big pot of this, smorgasbord of ingredients that I put in there, it is tasty, and I don't mind leftovers. So I sometimes, if I'm feeling that for breakfast, I'll eat it for breakfast. I will take it with me for lunch as well, and then come home and it's ready to eat for dinner again. And again, depending on how much you make, will depend on how long it lasts for you. And I don't always put all these ingredients. I don't always put shrimp in. And of course, shrimp is a great source of protein. I was talking to one of my sisters earlier this week, and she's like, well, what proteins do you take or eat? And I said, well, I like steak. I like ground meat or ground turkey. I like to have fresh salmon, or wild caught salmon rather. And I don't do a lot of chicken unless I buy it ground. I'm just kind of don't like the fussiness and messiness of handling chicken. So I don't really like that much. But if I go to a restaurant, I might order the chicken. And if I know that it tastes really good at that particular restaurant, I will definitely order it. And also, I will make a protein shake with the protein powder. And I like to put in my protein shake, I put a half a cup of oatmeal, about a teaspoon of honey, a scoop and a half of protein powder. And I always put a dash of cinnamon, a dash of turmeric, and a dash of cayenne pepper. All these are anti-inflammatory herbs and spices. And it's actually quite tasty. the more you put, the more flavor that you taste from it. And you don't need a lot. It can be less than a fourth of a teaspoon of each. And then I like to put a shot of cold brew in it, and with some organic coconut milk or almond milk, and then the rest I'll fill with water, and then I take that with me and I'll have that as a snack. It's we can get into these barriers with food in our mind. And I know I've spoken with you all about the time I hired the nutritionist slash trainer to help me sort of reboot and refresh. And when he told me that I was not eating enough, consuming enough calories for my goals, my fitness goals, he, said I had to eat double the amount of calories that I had been eating. And at first I couldn't wrap my mind around the eating that amount of calories. And in fact, I started to think and feel that I was going to get fat. And I remember talking to him and I said, how is this going to make me grow muscle? I got that with the protein, but the amount of protein that I was eating, which was, I weigh about 162 pounds now, and 162 to 164 pounds. And you have to at least eat the amount of grams per the amount of pounds that you weigh. So, and a little bit more than that. So he said I needed to consume at least 164 grams of protein to 100 and maybe 90 grams of protein per day. And when I started to look at this printout of what he suggested I eat, which he suggested I eat 5 meals a day, not huge meals, but healthy, whole food, micronutrient meals. And I just thought, I can't do this. There's no way. Coming from eating what was a big calorie deficit and wondering, why am I not getting to my goals? Why am I not building the body that I want to build for myself? And it was because no matter how much I worked out and how much, I ate healthy and how much cardio I did, it was keeping me lean, but I wasn't growing in the areas that I wanted to grow in. And I always felt kind of hungry, and I felt like the case of hypoglycemia coming on, where I would get hangry. I just found myself, really, really hungry and begin to get headachy at times throughout the day. And it was because I wasn't eating enough. And I didn't really realize that. I didn't pay attention to that. But when I did start eating more calories and following this guideline in my diet, I began to get overwhelmed. And there was this barrier that formed in my mind about, being healthy, eating healthy, but also not wanting to get fat. And I know that sounds crazy or weird when you look at me and you think, well, you're not fat. How could you think you would be fat? But it's the onset of what my body dysmorphia was doing to me. And about 4 weeks into it, I found that I actually wasn't getting fat. But the bigger thing that I found was that I wasn't getting those hungry headaches anymore. I wasn't getting the hangry experience during the day. I also found that I was no longer craving snacky foods. The snacky foods for me were potato chips, popcorn, ice cream. What else? I started to crave even more sugar in my non-sweetened iced tea. I would sprinkle sugar in there, and I would find that I wasn't having these crashes with my energy throughout the day. And it really, really helped to begin the process of healing me from feeling that mental block or that mental mindset of I'm going to get fat. I want to stay lean, but I want to be muscular. I want to be muscular in the areas that I want, but I want to be shredded. And it was just this dilemma that I kept, I kept battling throughout my life, really, because my parents were so not fanatic. They found that healthy eating and exercise and staying in shape was important. And that's how they raised us. And now as I'm approaching 61, people are always saying, gosh, you look good, your skin looks good, your hair looks good, your teeth look good. I mean, just in general, like, what do you do? And so, what are you doing? I would get that question. What are you doing to maintain yourself in the way that you are? And I started to tell them about the mental block that I had, this mental barrier that I had with food and exercise, also with how I would only eat 2 meals a day. And then I started working with this nutritionist, and he convinced me, he started talking to me about macros and what macros means, and in relation to, how some diets have you count calories, or they or to tell you, no, like those no carb diets. But what he taught me is the importance of a healthy, balanced whole food meal, which means, and what macros what consist of is the right amount of protein that's meant for you and your body type, with the right amount of carbohydrates at the right times in the day, which I really had forgotten about that and didn't remember that concept, as well as your fats and your healthy fats, and how and when to eat those, right? So I began to become super knowledgeable uh, on macros, and I was always confused by it. And I'm still learning. So I want you to know that as I learn, I'm going to be teaching you. And what the takeaway for me was, besides learning what macros meant, was how can I eat healthy throughout the day without stopping at Cane's or Wendy's or Burger King or Sonic? I just, I did do that, especially when I was traveling on the road back and forth from New Orleans to Arkansas for work. And I would not, I felt really guilty and ashamed that I would eat those foods. And then I started to process what I'd learned, remove the mental blocks, and this idea of meal prepping, it intimidated me. I don't know why. I mean, I used to like to cook. I stopped liking to cook, like I used to enjoy it. And I just started doing it. And at first it was a little stressful for me, because I had to, it took 30 minutes to, salt, prep the vegetables and the meat, and then get everything ready to start cooking. And by the time I was finished, it would be 45 minutes, an hour later. And I just thought, gosh, that's just so, like, just wrapping my brain around, I could be doing something else, that's productive. But I had to realize that that was being productive. It's being the most productive, because it had to do with my health and wellness and my fitness and my mindset. And so I started to look at meal prepping as a fun thing, as something that was exciting, because I got to prepare my own meals and I got to know what was going in my meals. Right? I mean, I used the healthy organic olive oils, and the good salts, and the organic black pepper, and the spices that I enjoy putting in my foods. And I encourage you to do the same thing. And I'm going to encourage you to read up on and study and do your research on, what are good, healthy herbs and spices that we can put in our foods that can help heal our bodies from the inside out, right? From our inflammation in our joints to the health of our skin, and the health of our hair and nails, and just a good overall healthy look and muscular, lean, physical look. And it's different for everyone. So you really have to consider your body type and your bone structure. I'm small. I have a small bone structure. I'm not very tall. So it's different for all of us. So I'm going to encourage you to maybe talk to a nutritionist, talk to someone that is a professional, like a registered dietitian, that you can, ask questions and get counsel from. Because I'll tell you what, as much as I look like I know what I'm talking about with health and wellness, I'm learning something new every day. And it's important to go to the professionals, someone that you trust, because the internet's great, Google's great. The chat GPT can be good for this, but I find that for me, it meant I connected more and it resonated more with me when I could actually speak to someone in a physical form that could tell me and encourage me and teach me, and again, who was a professional. And so I've learned to the big takeaway for me that I will encourage you to do is take your food with you. What does that look like? I'm just going to walk you through what I do daily, in terms of what I take with me, so that I can make sure that I'm going to eat healthy and a well-rounded meal throughout the day. I usually start in the morning with anywhere from 3 to 6 hard-boiled eggs. You can fry your eggs, however you or scramble your eggs. But I find that the research shows that if you eat hard-boiled eggs versus fried eggs, you're going to get less of the oils, and it's going to be more nutritious in terms of your calorie intake and just the overall health, right? So I now am doing hard-boiled eggs. I take the yolk out of 2 of them. And have those egg whites as well as the full egg, right? So that might be 4 eggs to 6 eggs. Take out the yolk and the rest and blend all the rest in. I like to chop up some olives, and I put a little pepper. And I also chop up some avocados because there's your healthy fat, right? And then your eggs is your protein. And then I put a little either mustard or a little olive juice. And sometimes I put a little low fat mayonnaise because I'm a mayonnaise fanatic. I could eat mayonnaise all day, but I'm trying to, be really healthy. And I don't do that. And then as far as a good healthy carb, I will start with a half a banana while I'm, preparing my coffee. And then I will make a piece, one slice of toast, and that would be sourdough toast or cinnamon raisin, Ezekiel, English muffin. I slice it in half and I eat just half of it, toast it, and there is my good healthy carb. So that's my breakfast. And then while I'm, getting ready to go to work, I'll prepare my shake that I take with me. And the shake I will either consume that around 11:30 in the morning on a little break. And then that consists of the protein powder I was telling you about, the oatmeal, a dash of cinnamon, cayenne pepper, and a little turmeric, and the organic coconut milk with a little shot of espresso and water, and that's a good source of protein and a good source of carbohydrate, and then the fat. And I put a little bit of organic coconut oil in it, and that's really, really good too. It's very tasty, and I take that with me, as well as I take a little jar of peanut butter. I have my honey with me. I have a rice cake, and my can of tuna. Usually I eat that around 3:30, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And that's always with me. It's always in my car. The shake, the protein powder, the peanut butter and tuna, that I can, at any moment when I get hungry, I have it there to eat. And then lunch usually consists of, like rice, shrimp, or rice and beef or either potatoes and beef. I like to have my white potatoes during the day and then my sweet potatoes in the evening. And so that brings me to my fifth meal and an evening meal. And that's usually around 7 o'clock. And I will have either a ribeye steak, or I will have that beef meal that I prepare and I told you about from the beginning, at the beginning of the show. I might have that, or like my sister Lisa reminded me, Jesse, you're eating a lot of beef. What happened to the salmon that you used to eat? And so then I this week incorporated salmon, and it was the wild caught salmon, Alaskan wild caught. It was delicious. And what did I do? I prepared a third of a sweet potato. My sister Delinda said, saute some onions and some mushrooms, which I did. And that was another little side. And then I had my steak with me. I mean, the salmon, it was so delicious, guys. It was, I mean, I just felt fully fulfilled, and it was very, very tasty. Again, not difficult, very quick to prepare. And when we think it's difficult to eat healthy, it doesn't have to be. It can be easy. It can be fun. It can be it can be exciting. It doesn't have to be cumbersome, time consuming, boring. We just have to put like this healthy mindset. Let's put that to work. And what I find when I've done this, eating this way throughout the day and throughout the week, you know what it does for me? It helps me feel confident. It helps me to feel inspired and motivated. And that's what this is all about. Remember, eating healthy doesn't have to be boring. It doesn't have to be time restrictive. It can be fun. So I'm just going to say with that, thank you for listening. I hope this helps. I want to keep encouraging you to invest in yourself in a way that makes you feel good and inspired and motivated to put your best foot forward. Get the week started right. Continue to pray for me, please, everyone, and I will continue to pray for you. Thank you again for listening. And until next time, see you soon.